Open Carry USMC here. This segment on the Oregon Revised Statutes covers the 200's subsections of Chapter 166. So let me get the pesky legal notice out of the way, and we'll jump right into the regulation. I'm not a lawyer, and this is not legal advice. Don't consider it to be. These videos are intended for most people, and they assume that you are an adult not prohibited from possessing a firearm. Be sure to check out this URL and look up these rules and regulations on your own. So 166.210 gives us a few of the definitions we've already seen in an earlier video. 166.220 covers unlawful use of a weapon. 166.240 is about carrying of concealed weapons, but it's about knives and other weapons, not firearms. So we're going to skip that one. 166.250 covers unlawful possession of firearms and is one of the main sections you need to know if you don't have a CHL. And then 166.260 tells us who's not affected by 166.250, and it's important if you do have a CHL. And then 166.262 actually limits the authority of police to arrest for violations of 166.250, as well as 166.370 that will be covered in the next segment. The rest of the 200 series subsections cover a variety of issues, including application and issue of CHLs, and some prohibitions on possession of felons by felons and inmates. Since this video series assumes that we're law-abiding citizens carrying lawful firearms, we aren't going to discuss them here. If you have any doubts as to whether you're a prohibited person or that any of these segments might apply to your situation, look them up at the URL provided at the beginning and end of this video. As always, do your own research and make sure you're in compliance with the law. So ORS 166.210 is definitions. As used in ORS 166.250 through 270 and 166.291 to 295, as well as 410 to 470. An antique firearm means any firearm, including any firearm with a matchlock, flintlock, percussion cap, or similar type of ignition system manufactured in or before 1898, and any replica of any of those firearms. And it's not designed or redesigned to use rimfire or conventional ammunition, or that this uses ammunition that's not generally available. A firearm means a weapon by whatever name known, which is designed to expel a projectile by the action of powder. Handgun means any pistol or revolver using a fixed cartridge containing a propellant charge, primer, and projectile, and designed to be aimed or fired or otherwise than from the shoulder. So a gun that you hold in your hand. So there's a distinction here. A muzzle-loading pistol doesn't use a fixed cartridge. Doesn't meet the definition of a handgun in ORS 166.210. It does, however, meet the definition of a firearm, and this will come into play as we go through the ORSs, specifically 250. So keep that in mind. And then minor means a person under the age of 18. So 166.220, unlawful use of a weapon. Person commits the crime of unlawful use of a weapon if the person attempts to use unlawfully or carries or possesses with intent to use unlawfully against another any dangerous or deadly weapon as defined in 161.015, or intentionally discharges a firearm, blowgun, bow and arrow, crossbow, and a whole bunch of other stuff. A is the one you want to look at. Now, this section does not apply to police officers or military personnel in lawful performance of their duties, or persons lawfully defending life or property, persons discharging firearms, blowguns at private shooting ranges or galleries, and persons lawfully engaged in hunting or in compliance with rules and regulations adopted by the State Department of Fish and Game. And if you violate this, it's a Class C felony. Which brings us to 166.250, which is the meat and potatoes of what we need to worry about. That's unlawful possession of firearms. So except as otherwise provided in this section, or 166.260, 270, 274, 291, 292, 166.410, or 470, or Section 5, Chapter 826, Oregon Laws 2009, person commits the crime of unlawful possession of a firearm if the person knowingly, and before we go into what it is, we're going to cover all of those regulations so that we know what the otherwise provided is. So 166.260 is persons not affected by 250. 270 is possession of weapons by certain felons. 274 is relief from prohibition against possessing or purchasing firearms and fees, not too important to us. 291 and 292 are the issuances of CHLs. And 410 to 470 covers sales and transfers. Then Section 5, Chapter 826 of the Oregon laws, they don't come into effect until 2016, so we're not going to worry about that in this video. So the only ones that really give us except as otherwise provided is 260, 270. If you carry any firearm concealed upon the person, so that's any firearm, long gun, handgun, anything concealed on your person, you're in unlawful possession of a weapon, firearm. Or if you possess a handgun that is concealed and readily accessible to you within any vehicle, or you possess a firearm and you're under 18, and then there's a minors and a few other things. So the big one is you can't carry a firearm concealed upon your person, and you can't possess a handgun that's concealed and readily available in a vehicle. This section does not prohibit a minor who's otherwise not prohibited from possessing other than a handgun if the handgun was transferred to the minor by the minor's parents or guardian, or temporarily for hunting. We're really not going to go into that, but there are some exceptions. If you're a minor, there are ways you can legally carry. And any citizen of the United States over the age of 18 who resides in or is temporarily sojourning, you get to have a weapon. So, firearms carried openly in belt holsters, however, are not concealed within the meaning of 166.250, and that's in 166.250 subsection 3. And in subsection 4, except as provided in paragraphs B and C of this subsection, handgun is readily accessible within the meaning of this section if the handgun is within the passenger compartment of the vehicle. That's all it takes. So if you don't have a CHL, which we'll get to in a minute, you need to not have it in the passenger compartment of the vehicle, or it's considered to be readily accessible. That's if it's concealed. And then remove the remainder of 46604, which describes alternative means. There's some notes that I've got. 166.261H, which is in the next subsection, exempts CHL holders from 166.250 in its entirety. With a CHL, you can conceal any firearm on your person, in a vehicle, etc. You won't, however, pass the background to get the CHL if you have any of the disqualifying conditions, but that's another matter. And 166.250 does not restrict carrying a concealed firearm that is not a handgun in a vehicle. So if you've got a rifle, a shotgun, muzzle-loading pistol, and it does not require that such a weapon be unloaded in a vehicle. Be aware, however, that the police are unlikely to understand this nuance of the regulations. Then 166.253, if it's openly carried in a belt holster, it's not concealed. That brings us to 166.260, persons not affected by 166.250. 166.250 does not apply to or affect a person who is licensed under ORS 166.291 and 292 to carry a concealed handgun. 260 subsection 2 concerns felons who have gotten their rights reinstated. Subsection 3, except for persons who are otherwise prohibited from possessing a firearm under 166.250, subsection 1C, or 270, ORS 166.250 does not apply to or affect members of any club or organization for purpose of practicing shooting at targets and a few other things, licensed hunters or fishermen while engaged in hunting or fishing, or while going to or returning from a hunting or fishing expedition. So if you're on your way to go fishing, or coming back, or while you're out there fishing or hunting, if you have a license, you don't need a concealed handgun license in order to conceal your firearm. Now, there's some case law that applies here. So if you are going to your condo and stopping there for the night, and then the fishing is tomorrow, case law out there says that you can't be doing this. You need the CHL to do it. Then 166.260 subsection 4, this exceptions listed in this section constitute affirmative defenses to a charge of violating 250. So notes on 260. You are exempt from 250 in its entirety if you have an Oregon CHL. You can conceal any firearm on your person, in a vehicle, etc., but you won't pass a background check if you have any disqualifying conditions. And licensed hunters and fishermen, we just discussed. And that brings us to 166.262, which is limitation on peace officers' authority to arrest for violating ORS 166-250 or 166-370. A peace officer may not arrest or charge a person for violating 166.250, 1A or B, or 166-370, subsection 1, if the person has in a person's immediate possession a valid license to carry a firearm as provided in the ORSs. So, if you've got a CHL, the police cannot arrest you for a violation of 166-250 or 370, and that's unlawful possession of a firearm under 250. And 370 we'll get into in the next section. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and like I said at the beginning, be sure to check out this URL and look up these rules and regulations on your own. It behooves you. This Open Carry USMC, be safe out there and have a good day.